Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakah Kadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are well and teach all sound doctrine, and peace and blessings to the elect. You brothers laboring throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and blessings unto, you as well. Well, willing, we all a part of that elect. So anyway, a topic that's kind of been on my mind since I woke up was it wasn't even a topic. It was a lesson idea, and it was basically I believe it when the road to paradise starts in hell. And of course, just in case there's any new people watching this, this is not referring to the hell, somewhere that you burn forever, which they push heavy in Christianity, which is based on Greek mythology and whatnot. Hell, refers to the grave and also being brought down to a lower state. Because, we have been, even right now, we're in hellish conditions because we're at the bottom of society struggling. Speaking of, Jake, and this ain't the only time we've been brought in this lower state. It's happened before, but the reason why we've been brought into it again, which is the last time we're going to be brought into this, is because of our what? Is because of our disobedience, and this is a form of punishment, because really, the Israelite man is supposed to rule. We're supposed to be on top, but because of our disobedience, we got brought down low. But the time is coming when the Lord returns, starting with the elect. We're gonna get all that. We're gonna get, our power back. Now, I actually had some precepts written down to to start the lesson. So, just bear with me 1 minute. In fact, let's start with Daniel 12:1. Salaki brothers, I actually wanted to go live on this lesson, but a live streaming app said I had to wait 24 hours because it was a new one that I was trying. As other ones that I've used in the past, I've had issues with them. So, other on Ratazar, this one works, and in one of my next lessons, I can go live. Dan 12:1, and paradise and hell are completely opposite. So in paradise, what comes to mind? You think of peace. You think of everything that is good, and when it comes to hell, you think of everything that is negative, conflict, hard times, everything and whatnot. And the hell that it's referring to, the hell that I'm talking about, hell is me referring to Jacob, the time of Jacob's trouble, which is going to be unlike any other time before ever recorded in history. In fact, it's going to surpass any other time that has ever been. And also, the paradise, which is me referring to the kingdom, which is going to be a time greater than ever before. It's going to be on a whole another level, but something that you can look to, something that you can really look at, in order to give you an idea of what's coming, is look back at the time of King Solomon, when we had those 40 years of peace. All Israel was pretty much living good. All Israel was living good at that point, man. Remember when the Queen of Sheba came, and she was just in awe, man. She was just in just complete awe. I didn't even have any words that I could really put in to really describe the feeling that she was in. And in fact, I wasn't even going to go there, but in fact, let's go there. If I'm not mistaken, it was like the breath, just gone over. I can't remember where it's at. I may get in another part of the lesson, but yeah, that's definitely something I'm gonna pull up at some point. That's the spirit. I didn't plan it. I didn't plan to go there, but hey, it looks like I'm gonna have to go there at some point. But anyway, this is Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up. And who is Michael? Michael is, how do we say, he's the one underneath Yahweh Shai. We would say, what would we say, the third in command? Because he's the chief archangel. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And who is these people that he's talking about? He's talking about, the children of Israel, primarily the elect, because, you have Israel that is predestined for destruction, and you have those predestined to be saved. And the ones who are predestined to be saved are the elect, and the ones who are predestined for destruction are, what we say, the 2/3, and, the wicked Israelites, basically. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. Like I just said before, hell, I'm referring it to Jacob's trouble, is going to be unlike a time never before seen before. And you could just look at those Purge movies and whatnot. Those Purge movies, how when they, for example, there was a bill passed in Illinois that they said they were going to have in 2023, which they were basically legalizing certain crimes like, I believe it was second-degree murder, home robbery, and different crimes like that, unless you could prove it without certainty. And, of course, Esau would say, oh, we're doing this to fix this and this problem. But, us in the truth, we can see what kind of chaos this could lead to. And then they come in with a solution that can, which can help them push their agenda. Which is, what's their motto, should we say, is order of chaos, which is they create an issue and then they come with a solution. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. And you have to take that into account. It's going to get so serious out here that, the Lord is going to have to intervene on a very high level. You just read here, Michael the Archangel is going to have to come down and intervene as well, man. So that should register in your mind and say, because the average person, they hear this all the time, you listen. Even if you're not in the truth, as long as, I would go as far as to say this, as long as you've dealt with the Bible, you must have heard about this time. They in Christianity, I believe they call it the Great Tribulation, which is, the scriptures, is basically the same thing as Jacob's trouble. They just call it a different name. They can't mean to tell me they don't know that time is coming, and they believe that, they will get delivered before, they believe all kinds of things. But what I'm saying is, they really downplaying what's going to happen, because this time is going to far surpass any other time before in history. And we've had cannibalism, recorded in the scriptures. That was a great famine that was in Samaria. We've had we've had very bad wars. We've had what happened to what do you call it? What was I gonna say? What happened to our brothers in when the conquistadors came over there? What happened to us? All these different things, and it's gonna be far surpass all of that. So that should only persuade you to try and get right with the Lord, to get your mind ready, because in that time you're not gonna be able to deliver yourself, man. It's gonna have to be Yahweh Bashim Yahushai that delivers you, because if you look back to ancient Egypt, the Lord was plaguing those Egyptians, man. The Lord was plaguing those Egyptians. If you were to go back, say even in ancient Egypt, you would go. Listen, if someone was to go back into that time from this time to what the Lord did in ancient Egypt, listen, I speak as a man, but I say that they would probably have a heart attack and maybe die. But they'll get shaken on very badly, and that was considered laughable. But this time is going to be much worse. So, how much more how much more needs to be said in order for these people to get right, man? So like I might have talked a bit too long, but I don't like leaving points. You know, I don't like leaving points. And then just jump into our next precept without kind of going through it. And a precept I love to use to back this one up, because the two go together, is Jeremiah the 30th chapter. I want to start the 5th verse, close. Jeremiah 30:5, for thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. As ye know, and see whether a man doth travail with child, and travail is those labor pains that women go through. When a woman's in labor, she's like screaming, she's like, ah, because she's in excruciating pain, because she can feel the baby, but it's not time for the baby to come out yet. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. And the reason why their faces are turned into paleness is because they're going to be so afraid, because the Lord has special creatures. The Lord may have creatures that you've never even seen before, and their sole purpose, and the first time they're coming out is in the time of Jacob's trouble, to really shake things up. Because, listen, what's going to happen is going to, you can try to imagine it all you want, but it's going to, anything that you can imagine, it's going to be worse. Because the Lord is having this happen on a completely different scale to what you thought was even possible, man. Because you can only imagine so far. You can only really imagine based on certain things that have already happened before and things that you know. But if something happens that you've never seen before, and that you didn't know that could really happen, and that maybe you didn't even know, then that stops you imagine. You can't really imagine that, because you weren't prepared to envision that, because it wasn't something that you really registered. It wasn't something that you really knew. Because, for example, we know the big ones coming. The Leviathan. Imagine looking up and coming, looking that in the eye. People are gonna drop dead of a heart attack, man. That's why in the scriptures it also says, men's hearts failing them for fear. What does that mean? Your heart's failing you. What is heart? You die from heart failure, man. People's heart. People gonna be having heart attacks and dropping dead for sheer fear, man. So alas, for rambling a bit, alas, for that day is great, so that there is none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And that he that is talking about is the elect. And, if it weren't for the elect, listen, what does it say in Isaiah? I believe it's Isaiah 1:9. If it weren't for the elect, we should have been like unto Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's another way of saying, we would have been utterly destroyed. Because what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? It got destroyed, right? Isaiah 1:9, except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah, meaning we should have been destroyed. Because if it weren't for the elect, there would have been none that were found righteous amongst us. And even me saying righteous, I would say that's a bit of a stretch, because we all go off, but the Lord ultimately would find us righteous, is what I mean. And then we're going to be made perfect when the Lord returns, because we're going to have those new bodies. Now, jumping on to the next precept, just bear with me 1 minute. And this is a good one, Acts 14:12. So, not 12, 22. I believe it should be the one I'm thinking of. Come on. Okay, yeah, here it is. confirming. Let me. No, let me just start at 22. Acts 14 and 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom. And tribulation is, us going through hardships and whatever we go through, in our walk, because everybody will go through different things, but you're supposed to persevere and endure through that, because you should understand that the reward that the Lord will give you if you endure is gonna make whatever you went through look laughable, man. You're gonna look back and say, "What? I really had to go through this to be to get the kingdom, man. It isn't even worth comparing." I would have done something twice as bad as this, because you're gonna have tears of joy. Your heart's gonna feel like it's not, you're gonna be overwhelmed with joy, which in this time that seems something straight out of a fairy tale, but hey, it's true, man, and we have faith that is true. And like I said, the road to paradise starts in hell, and what did it say here? Through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of the Most High. So even here, the tribulation is the hardships. And when we're in the lower states, what we're going through, hardships and struggles. That's why it's good to check up on brothers, because you never know what brothers going through, because we always have different things. We always have different things that going on. That's why the scripture says, let brotherly love continue. Because when the Lord was on the scene, him and the disciples, they were all showing each other love, man. Now, of course, you had that snake in the grass, but you in the truth, you're gonna have snakes in the grass. That's why you're supposed to be circumspect. And if it happens, you just gotta see it as, well, I guess he wasn't really supposed to be a part of the truth, but it can be. It's sad, but it's just one of those things. I remember, we're gonna enter into the kingdom, but by Daniel 7 and 18, the saints of the Most High are gonna take the kingdom, because the Lord is coming back for war, and these other nations, because when the Lord returns, they're gonna be fighting against each other. But what's gonna happen is they're gonna, it's gonna be like what they call it, a mutual partnership, where they're gonna turn their guns and they're gonna try and fight the Lord. But it's gonna be a flawless victory, because none of their weapons are gonna work. The Lord can do so many things, man. The Lord could have their weapons. They could try and fire their weapons. Their weapons could fire, but then they jump and then reverse back on them. Or listen, the Lord is just at such a high level that, listen, it's gonna be, imagine imagine I'm trying to put this into terms. Alright, if any of you brothers are like and it's gonna be much worse, but I'm just trying to put this into perspective, that any of you brothers that may be anime fans, let me try and put this into perspective, that imagine a newborn baby of a regular citizen, right? Any of you brothers know who Baki. Imagine a newborn baby, of a regular human tries to fight Yujiro. It's gonna be much worse, but you can already see how that would go down. I mean, Yujiro is on a completely, it's a completely different power, just like Yahweh Shem Yahushai is a power way beyond their comprehension, way beyond their understanding. The Lord is beyond our understanding as well. But through our understanding of the scriptures, we can slowly understand to a small extent. But if we try to understand the Most High, if you try to understand the Most High to I would say to the fullness. Listen, the Most High is just beyond your comprehension, beyond your understanding. Your head would probably implode of you trying to do that. Maybe not implode, but you just go into a full meltdown because the Lord. What does the scripture say? I believe that's precept just came to mind. His ways are not our ways, and our thoughts, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. Something like I can't remember what that is. I believe it was in I believe the Apostle Paul said that. Bear with me 1 minute. Salakia. His ways. I can't even find it, so let me try and Google it. Oh, Salaki, it's in Isaiah. Okay, hold on. This is Isaiah 55. It's loading. This is Isaiah 55 and 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your Salaki. Let me start from the top. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. And this is, if you can see it, this is all caps, so you know that we know that it's talking about the Most High. For those that are new, when it's in all caps, it's referring unto Yahweh. So this is another way the Lord saying that. Listen, I'm on a far different level to you, because you have to take into account the Most High. Like someone said something profane, they said, "Oh, who created the Most High?" I said, "Bro, don't do that. Don't go that." You didn't say that, Salaki. You said, "How was the Most High created?" I'm like, "Yo, don't do that. Don't try and be too deep. Don't try and understand things that are not necessary, because listen, you wanting to find out something like that is not necessary. Focus on the scriptures and the breakdowns that you need, because listen, I can't even find a word. I don't even know what word to say in that. But listen, I was like, listen, that is you don't need to know that. Something like how did the Most High come to be? Listen, I understand that you may be curious, but listen, don't be fixated on that or something like that, because bro, the Lord is far beyond your understanding. So you wondering how did the Lord come to be? That's just something completely unnecessary, and you shouldn't be worried about that, man. Let me see if there's anything more in the next verse. Yeah, this is the next verse. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. His ways are not out. Like for example, we could read, for example, about the Lord, the Lord doing something. Now we see, okay, the Lord did this. Now, we may not understand it, but we may understand it, but I can't even find. We may not understand it to a certain degree, but not understand the fullness of it. But it's not really for us to worry about. That's why I told that guy. Now, he's not even in the truth. He's in that Christianity. I tried to drop truth bombs on him, whatnot, but he's like, "Oh, I'm not reading that." I'm like, I give them options. I'm like, I can send this in voice note. I can do this. I can do that. But It's like, oh no, I'm good, but you not wanting to know history and what's in the scriptures. Because I was just I was giving him because he's Jake, so I was giving him 70 AD to start off somewhere. But I wasn't, forcing it all through. So I was just trying to break it down slowly. I was just asking him little questions because he put up, he was putting up stuff. So I was like, yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe he wants to know something. So I did what I could. I tried to get some information and line up some scriptures just in case. And what happened? He didn't want to hear it. But then he put up something that was, oh, I wonder how the Most High came to be. But listen, you need to focus on the breakdowns and whatnot. You're not focusing on something like that. Because when you take into account when you take into account we're in a wicked society, and the society upholds everything that is glorifies or upholds everything that is wicked, and it kind of demonizes everything that is righteous. When we try to talk about, for example, sodomy being wrong. Listen, I remember being in high school. I said something, and I was like, and it was like, oh, there is nothing wrong with being gay, for example. And then it was like, oh, but the Bible says this. I'm just like, yo, you're supposed to be a quote unquote RE teacher, If for those of you who don't know, RE stands for religious education. You're supposed to be a RE teacher, At least be biased, at least be unbiased in your statements. Make them say the truth regardless of how you feel. But she's like, so she basically had a family member who was, and she was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with being this. But then we read in Sodom and Gomorrah. Then we read in the scriptures that the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for the sin that you're saying is okay. So which one is it? You know. So it is what it is. But we know that they don't like, harsh, the harsh truth, man. Cause in this work, you're gonna go through a lot of hell, man. You're gonna go through getting mocked. You're gonna go through being tempted, because when you in the truth, the things that I said this before, I believe, the things that you used to love doing but you can't do anymore, they become more desirable because you can't do them anymore. But you have to be disciplined and kind of say, you know what, nah, I can't do that. It's easier said than done, but you have to build yourself up, because you're gonna get temptation. I don't know one brother. I don't think any brother has been in the truth without, coming up against temptations and whatnot. Because the Lord tests you whilst you're in the truth. You're supposed to stay sharp and whatnot. There's no point, keep yourself in a box. There is no point keeping yourself in a box, because when you're in the box, you can't grow. You're just stuck in a safe space. But you have to come out of your comfort zone. You have to get into a danger zone. Because, if you stay in your comfort zone, you may get, the Lord may just sift you, man. So, like, I was just seeing if someone was banging on that gate. Yeah, that just jumped into my head when I said that. Zechariah 12 and 8. I believe it is, let me see. Just gonna load up the precept on here. Like I said, bear with me, Akim. If I was on live, I would have just probably said, can a brother just put the precept up in the comment section, if there was anyone on live with me. Let me see. I believe it's Zechariah. If it's not Zechariah, it's Zephaniah. So like, that's a good precept. I might have to come back to that, but that's not the way. Yes, here it is. This is Zechariah 13 and 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And this 1/3 is referring to the elect, and the 2/3 is referring to them that are predestined for destruction, should I say. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined. I will try them as gold is tried. In fact, I believe there's a precept in 2 Ezra 6:22 that actually just came to mind. I'll come back to that 9th verse. Born in vain. I think it goes something like that the multitude perished that were born in vain. I think it's 2 Ezra 6:22. No, that's another one I'm thinking of. Come on. Hold on. Oh, 9 and 22. I knew it was the 22 verse, but I got the two mixed up. This 2 Ezra 9 and 22. Let the multitude perish, then which was born in vain. I let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. And multitude, that's what that should be a deterrent for us to stray from the path. Because can you imagine the Lord coming back and then your purpose was to, you were born in vain, and you have to die, but you're gonna come back into the kingdom, but you have to face heavy judgment. That's scary to think about, man. So you should always be, examining yourselves. Of course, when you go off, ask how Bashim Yahshua for forgiveness, because we all go off. I'm not gonna sit here in front of the camera and say I don't really go off. Of course I go off, but I try to get, like I always say, I try to get back on the, dust myself off and get back on the road and continue the race, man. Because the scripture says, I believe it's the road is not for the swift, but the battle is not for the strong, but he that can endure it to the end. I used to hear that all the time when I was younger. Well, I am young, but you understand the point. And that just stuck with me. And when I came to the streets, I always remember that precept. I was like, this is not a test for for who's the fastest, nor is this a test for who made it be the strongest. But this is a test. You have to be durable, so to speak. This is a test of endurance. Okay, yeah, let me jump back to Zechariah 12 and 9. Adon Ratazad, everything is good with this lesson, because I don't see anything, that could go wrong. For example, I issue with anything, say the audio or the visual or anything like that. I don't see anything that could go wrong. So I don't want Ratazar. This lesson edifies you, brothers. Okay, let me just start again. This is Zechariah 13 and 9. And I will bring the third part through the fire. I will refine them as silver is refined. I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my power. And the people, who is the Lord's people? The Israelites. But like I always say, this is primarily dealing with the elect, because the elect is the ones that the Lord is dealing with as far as right now. These are the ones that the Lord is coming to deliver. Because the elect are the ones who are striving and striving for perfection, but ultimately falling short because we're in these chains of darkness. We're in this sinful flesh, which it makes it impossible for us to be without sin. But when we get those perfect bodies, we're gonna be without sin. Now you know what? I believe Ecclesiasticus 2:5. Hey, that's the spirit. I didn't even have all these precepts in my head to start with, but that's that's the Lord, man. Ecclesiasticus 2:5. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So in other words, so just like we read in Zechariah, we're gonna be brought to the fire. We're gonna go through tests that ultimately, we're gonna go through hardship. We're gonna go through stuff like this precept says. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Adversity, especially in this truth, especially it builds your character. Because if you don't have any form of adversity, then it's when you have a form of adversity, you know that you're doing something right. Just like we in this wicked society, if no one is coming against what you're saying, then if the society is not coming against what you're saying, and we in a wicked society, like I always say, then you really have to evaluate what it is that you're doing or what it is that you're teaching, because you can't pillow step just to save the feelings of these people. To hell with these people's feelings. I could care less. But because the truth is the truth. We can't dilute the truth, because a little leaven